Sleeping in school. 3. So there I was in algebra class, and I had this second period at the time, so it was early in the morning, and I wasn't really functional in the mornings, like first through third period. I am, for all intents and purposes, a zombie. Like, I can barely hold a conversation, and I can barely hold my eyes open and barely function. And now, I was sitting here in my desk, staring at a piece of paper covered in notes that, especially while I'm sleepy, made no sense whatsoever to me. My brain was like, Jace, wouldn't it be great if you took a small little power nap right now, because you're in algebra class, you don't like math, this is confusing and stressful, and it's early, just close your eyes for a little bit, you know? And I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. So I made up my mind, I'm gonna just take a tiny little power nap. And I had a great way of sleeping in class, but making it look like I wasn't sleeping. So basically, I would sit in the second row of the back section of my classroom, and the girl that sat in front of me blocked most of me from my teacher's view except for my entire right side. So if my teacher saw me from that angle, it'd be obvious I was asleep. So I would hit the classic put my face in my hand on my right side, and I would lean my head a little forward, so now if she looked over, all she would see is my hair, and what looked like I was looking down my paper. This technique worked every time. There was other times where I would dead just say screw the technique, and I would just lay my head down in my arms and pass out, but that was like only after we finished our notes and there was like 5 minutes of the class. But sleeping in class can be risky too, because depending on the teacher, it could be raps for you, or nothing will happen. Like, I remember one time in my algebra class, we were again doing notes, and this dude that sat in the row next to me was asleep, and I noticed earlier on in the class, but I didn't pay too much attention when I was like, he's just asleep, right? It didn't really matter. And I was low-key kind of waiting for my teacher to come wake him up like she had done me 6 times before, but nope, not today. She wanted to teach the kids who wanted to be taught. So she kept going, and then after she got done with our notes, she stopped talking, sat down, and the whole class was silent, and everyone was now either on their phone waiting for the bell to ring or taking a quick power nap. I was on my phone until I heard a and it came from the kid sitting next to me, and I looked over real quick, acknowledging the fact that it was him and he is now snoring mid-sleep in the middle of class. But then I looked back at my phone, and bro started breathing like really heavily, like you could hear him breathe in and out, and like actually randomly, like out of nowhere, it caught me so off guard. He just started and while this was happening, most of us was just dead looking at him. Like, even our teacher from our desk was just looking at bro. And I was like, is someone going to step in and stop this? Or like, are we just gonna sit here and listen to bro sleep and snore till the class ends? And then like during bro's third snore rotation, our teacher finally got up and came woke him up. And like the entire time this was happening, it just reminded me how risky sleeping in class can be. Like, I don't snore a lot personally. I have before, but never at school. I don't be sleeping that good at school in the first place to be drooling and snoring all over the place. And I've personally heard enough stories of kids snoring loud as shit in the middle of class and then getting laughed at like a Disney Channel movie to know that this could actually happen to anybody. And another thing I did a lot before sleeping in class, like it was a part of my whole tactic, and this depended on what class I was in and what teacher I had, because you know, some teachers hate when kids sleep in class even if you put your head down for 2 seconds, and then some teachers could care less. So depending on what I got, I would act accordingly. So in class where I know my teachers care, I would look around the room to see how many other kids are sleeping, and if the number of kids is more than 4, I would be like, alright, bet, I'm gonna take my nap. I'm probably running like, Jace, why does that have to be more than 4? Well, I do this because it rises my chances of sleeping longer. Like, most of my teachers would like quickly wake up 1 or 2 kids sleeping, but when it's 5 or more in a high amount like that, teachers usually would either slowly wake up people or not at all. And if they slowly woke up the people, that gave me more time to sleep. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm smart like that, I know. Now, a thing that's very important that I sort of said earlier is the way you're sleeping when it comes down to sleeping in class. Like, if you're a seasoned pro like me, you would have multiple main sleeping positions you would use to sleep in class without looking like you're sleeping. Now, over this last year, my dreads have gotten mad long to like a point where you can't even tell if I'm looking at you or not. So sleeping in class for me this year gonna be mad easy. But earlier in the year when my hair was shorter and you could see my face, I had to come up with unique ways to sleep in class. And the main one I used was a good old hand in the face trick, which would always work because not only does everyone normally do this in class when they're not sleeping, but also normally do this in class when they are sleeping. So it's usually my go-to. And then I got the slumped, where I just sit really low in my seat and dead look like this. And now this one can work sometimes because again, it's another thing that everyone does while awake and while sleeping, so it's valid. And my final one I use from time to time is laying my head down but with my face out, so it looks like I'm just chilling. Now this one is risky because everyone puts their head down to go to sleep, so it's gonna look like you're sleeping unless your head isn't in your arms. And I only use this one if I'm like hella sleepy and didn't have a lot of energy to think about using my other sleeping forms for real. And nowadays I actually have like sleeping designated classes, like certain classes I would sleep in. And now I'm not saying do this like do your work, gang. But I remember my sophomore year, I had history 4th period, and after falling asleep in that class for like every day for like a whole week, I would get to that class and it'd be impossible for me to stay awake. You feel me? Like, my body got so used to going to sleep at a certain time in that certain class, I just naturally got sleepy in that class. And it was just weird because the same exact thing happened last year in my 3rd period class, where I slept every day and then my body got used to falling asleep in that class. So when I get there and sit down, I'd just be mad sleepy and be out for the count.